we can probably get started. So as a little introduction, I would like to...
Let's first thank Lucinda for this good news. And I imagine that Vicky has huge ears. Listen to that, because she's an outdoor person. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yes.
So I wanted to introduce Ursula as a co-leader of our support group, and Paul Jackson is other co-leader, and I'm the third co-leader. So I'm in charge of all the emails. So I send out the emails to for every meeting, and Ursula and Paul help me assemble the notices with the agenda and everything. So we communicate in between the meetings what we're going to talk about the next meeting. So and so today Paul will be, I believe, leading the group and introducing our guest, Jeff and Simon Gale, and kind of explain how they got together and how all this came about to have this support group on virtual reality. And so first, I think if there's anybody that doesn't know anybody, maybe they can raise their hand and introduce themselves. I don't remember, Jamie, this your first meeting?
No, it's not.
I actually listened in on a meeting, probably a couple months ago now. I've missed a number of sessions since then. But this is actually my second meeting, and I thank you all so much for, I think I took a lot of time on that first meeting I attended, as I was just newly diagnosed, and you all gave me so much helpful information and, pointed me in the right direction on many fronts, exactly where I needed to look. And and now I'm feeling a little bit better, so I'm dipping my toe back into these meetings. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're a safe group. We don't bite. We don't get into arguments.
Do you want to take it away, Paul?
Yeah, I'm saying we're a safe group. We don't bite. We don't get into arguments. We try and help each other out. So, yeah. So my name is Dr. Paul Jackson. I actually have a Ph.D. in computer engineering that I got from Texas A&M back in 1998. I moved to Seattle, did research in virtual reality and augmented reality at Boeing. Never told anybody while I was there that I had an MS. But 2010 or so, I switched into digital video production, and I joined the Swedish probably about maybe 2017, 2016. That's how I met Jeff. So that's how I met Simon. I met Jeff through another virtual reality event that happened, and so I figured, since I have background in VR and stuff, I know Simon's putting on these events, and he bought a Quest. I was like, hey, I know people that can, might be able to do some development of an application for you guys. And so that's why I introduced Jeff and Simon together. And so Simon is the PT at Swedish. Jeff is the president of the mixed reality company. And I'll pass the hat to Simon.
Thank you, Paul, and thanks everybody. It's good to see you all out there. It's a good sized group. It's my first time being involved in the support group. I guess I'm not doing any more introductions, right? I'm just taking it from here. So I'm Simon Gale. I'm an occupational therapist, or OT, or other therapist, as we usually call ourselves, because nobody knows what an OT is. And I'm also the adventure guide at the MS Center. So I plan our events and outings. We just had a ski trip last week, and we go skydiving and kayaking, and we have art classes. And I think most of the people, I recognize most of the people here, so a lot of you know that. And when COVID hit, sure enough, like everything else, we had to shut down our adventure program, but I was still coming to work every day, twiddling my thumbs. And actually, Paul, I didn't have a Quest yet. I mean, you literally got things started, Paul, when you introduced me to Jeff. I don't even remember how the introduction happened, actually. It must have happened online. But I was I think I was interested in virtual reality, and I bought a couple of those really crappy headsets where you slip your phone in it. And then I knew, like, well, virtual reality is garbage. So I was still noodling and exploring a little bit, but and then it was very timely that somehow Paul put me in touch with Jeff, and I went to Jeff's lab to visit and to talk VR. And he'd already been working in the disability arena. Like, I remember he had a wheelchair simulator, and so. And then I tried out VR for the first time, and that was an important moment for me. I'm a willful Luddite. I've never taken an interest in gaming, or I'm pretty behind. I got my first iPhone like maybe 5 years ago. That was my first smartphone. So I knew that VR was going to be junk, and
junk.
And just for kids who want to play games. And so I do really remember that first time I pulled the headset on, and the visuals are just fed to you, very robustly, very crisply, and then it is having that sound, having good sound coming out right where the headset, right next to your ears, is a very potent effect as well. I've always complained that there's a paucity of sensory input with VR, because there's no touch, temperature, there's not a lot of that happening. But the visual and the sound is enough that to use an overused word, it's highly immersive. And I quickly became aware that you can take people away from themselves with virtual reality. And so I hung out in Jeff's lab several times. We started to come up with ideas, and it was good timing because I had nothing else to do with my adventure program being dormant. And little by little, we've, I say we, like I basically just, talk to Jeff and his creators and say, well, what about this? It's always very entertaining to talk to Jeff, because I'll ask about some kind of a virtual reality concept. And I'll just say, well, could we create this? And Jeff's like, well, yeah, of course, it's virtual reality. We can make anything. And then I'll say, well, what about this? And he's like, well, yeah, you could do it, but that'd be really expensive. So it's interesting, just trying to figure out what's possible and what's not possible. But we met several times, started to come up with some plans, and then Jeff created content for us. And so we've had 2 phases. I need to do a bit of an aside. I speak, once in a while as an OT and as the adventure guide at Swedish, and I've spoken at the consortium and different kinds of talks. And I have a philosophy that there's only 2 ways you can go when you present. You over-prepare and you know your material, and it's just there for the grabbing when it's time to speak. Or you completely under-prepare and wait for inspiration to slam you in the back of the head when the moment is right. And I chose the latter. So hopefully I can remember all of the experiences that we've created. And Jeff, you may have to interject and let me know if I've missed something. But I'm just going to start giving examples of things that we've created and why we've created it and what we're hoping to use it for. So we have some basic 3D videos. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with VR. I guess I didn't do a good introduction, but you put the headset on, it feeds you all the visual information, and it's got inclinometers and accelerometers and cameras built into it. So the headset is going to know, for lack of a better word, if you're turning your head or looking up or down. So you do have a 360-degree experience, as if you were there, depending on what experience you choose. And so some of our early offerings were really basic 360 videos. Like we bought at Jeff's recommendation, we bought a 360 GoPro, and I ran up. I'm a runner, and so I ran up Mailbox Peak. I carried the camera with me, ran up for the sunrise, and ran down again. And then Jeff edited the video and got it onto the headset for us. And so it's like you're there with me. It's kind of like you're there over top of me, but you can hear this. I did it in October a few years ago. You can hear the snow crunching under my feet, and you can see the sunrise, and you can look over at Mount Rainier. So that would be an entertainment experience. And we have a few others like that. Like there's one of Jeff on just inner tubing down a river, I think somewhere near Wenatchee. And we have a few like relaxation, meditation, like sort of meditation light. I think that's a field that can really be explored a lot more. We haven't chosen to explore it yet, but there's just a really nice video of a mountain creek, and you're just there at the creek hearing the waterfall. Oh, there it is right there. Yeah, Jeff's pointing at it. And I'm probably missing a few of those experience videos.
Simon. So Simon's really humble if you guys haven't guessed that yet, right? So he is the brains behind everything that's been created so far. And at the beginning of COVID, what happened was pre-COVID, Simon would lead these adventures where he would take his MS crew out on exciting days out. And when we started talking, he just realized because of the beginning of COVID that was no longer possible. So he said, hey, how can we take people on these adventures when we can't take these people on these adventures? And so we huddled together and we figured out the two ways to do that. One is to go on them and take a camera with us and therefore record it. And the other one is to actually build an environment where you can feel like you're escaping, especially. And so then we asked the question, well, why do we want to do that? And it was, well, we want to just get these moments of escape. We can just forget the world around you and just relax. Then we also want to take you on something that gives you a little bit of a thrill and makes you feel like you're actually going out into these places where you can't normally go. And the third one is, how can we essentially build some community around what it is we're building and get people together? So that was the core concept that Simon tried to bring together and that we tried to implement for him. So there are, in that phase one Simon spoke about, the first part is 90-second escapes. So it's just really simple little thing. You can put a headset on, forget about the world that's bugging around you. And it's, for example, just sitting in a dark room with a little bit of rain falling around you, right? It's standing next to a waterfall like this and just hearing the water just flow, just trying to relax and forget about everything, kind of mind wellness, as it were. The second phase, and there's a couple more of those, and then you've got these escapes, these little adventures that actually Simon and I went on at the beginning, and they are things like river rafting or running and hiking up local mountains and things like that. But the key concept of both of those areas is we built this to get started, and then Simon went and got this camera, because the concept is we want you guys to actually have these experiences and record them for other people. So this thing can actually grow with you as you progress. And you go, hey, I'm going on a trip. I want to take you guys with me, but I can't. So rather than take a normal 2D camera and a video, you take this 360 and it records everything around you in all directions. So when you put a headset on, you can look around. Like if I turn around here, I would be seeing the rest of the river, the opposite side of the waterfall. So you really get that sense of immersion and escape. So that was the key concept. And then the third part of that was this community area where, in fact, for now, it's an art room where we have a lot of art that was actually created by people with MS. And you go in and you can actually, you have these three-dimensional pens and you can draw on stuff, and you can draw even your own. So you can actually sculpt essentially with a paintbrush and do it collaboratively too. Right.
If I can dovetail on that with the taking people out on the escapes, something that I've started to work on, but I've been slow to get going on it, is a lot of our MS adventures are adaptive. Sit skiing and kayaking, where we have outriggers on the kayaks. We've had people, pretty much at a quadriplegic level kayaking with us. And I want to be able to, if I have somebody who's hesitant to participate in a program, I could potentially hand them a headset and say, well, hey, this is what it looks like. And just hopefully get some good footage of it. So I've got a lot of footage. I haven't edited much of it down yet. But yeah, so the opportunity to participate, sort of secondhand in adventures, and also see what it looks like when it's adapted for people who are hesitant or haven't done something in a long time. And I'm not humble at all. The one story I need to tell people is one set of videos I have is I think I still have hand pain from this. I did the rim to rim to rim run. So I ran the 46 miles from the north rim of the I guess, the south rim of the Grand Canyon to the north rim and then back again. So I carried a 360 camera for almost 12 hours. Not that it was running the whole time. And I still take such joy in watching that video. Like it's so magical down inside the Grand Canyon, like getting down inside it where all the waterfalls and the creeks and the rivers are. It is magic. So I just did that for me, but I mean, I have a YouTube page for it, and it's magic just to relive it. So I'm hoping to start sharing more and more of that stuff with people. And yes, and then the art gallery, that's one of our early ones, and I still think that's one of my favorite ones. So yeah, it was one of the COVID art shows where we didn't have our live art show like we usually do at the Armory. And Aaron Carper took photos of submissions, the artwork submissions for that year, and Jeff and his team did a fabulous job of creating an art gallery. Like you can walk right up to the artwork and view it. It's beautiful. And yeah, and then there's a collaborative thing you can do inside the art gallery where we have these like paint pens, and I haven't done a lot with that yet, but hoping to do so. And is that all of phase one? Did I miss one? Yeah, and then we got ambitious and started working on phase two. So early phase one was escape, entertainment, just taking. I don't have a better way of phrasing it. Like just taking yourself away from yourself, from your living room or from your chair is a great concept. And I think there's a lot of power and value into that. It's not just entertainment. There's just just from a almost like relaxation or meditative standpoint, you can just get away from yourself.
Can I butt in for a second, really quick?
Only if it's like, supporting what I'm saying.
I was going to say, is there any way that Jeff can show us the 360 view in that?
I think
look up at the trees and stuff with the mouse.
I think you have plans for showing some stuff, right? Jeff, are you going to be able to like scroll around to show a 360 effect?
Yeah, I think Paul is actually going to show us live,
Yeah.
but if there are any issues, I can pull it up on the fly as well.
All right, we'll talk
I wanted to know what kind of a headset you recommend. I've used the cardboard that you slip your phone into, and it's crap. So
I should have mentioned. So we did buy. The clinic has 4 headsets, and in the early days, I during my adventure planning time, which is like 0.5 of my FTE is geared towards adventures. I was driving out to people's houses, showing them how to use them, letting them keep them for a while. And that was really time consuming. So I shut that down. And I do have headsets here at the clinic. People are welcome to drop by to pick one up and borrow it. If they can borrow it for a while, as long as they promise to bring it back. And
you have cameras too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So thanks, Paul, for mentioning that. Another thing that we had been doing, I haven't done it for a while, but we have a 360 GoPro, and have been lending it out to people. If they've been doing anything fun or cool, they can just catch the 360 footage, and we can get that onto the headsets as well. But here's one of the clinic. Oops, I got my back. Yeah, here's one of the clinic headsets. It is really nice. So I've been learning the hard way to. The Oculus Quest 2 just comes with a regular strap, and these do get quite heavy up front. So I got a better quality headset for it. I should do a little side comment that if people have, migraine issues, headache issues, vestibular issues, VR is not for everybody, or you have to perhaps do it in very brief doses. So, so there's a headset. And these are the little controllers that you hang on to. And there is capacity with Quest where the outward-facing cameras can read your hand motions. So we're having more and more capacity to control what's happening just via your hands instead of having to rely on these. These are hilarious. You always have to tell people they have to put the straps on, because once they get immersed in their game, they are throwing these things across the rooms. So we did phase, then we started phase 2, and in brief, phase 2, we have a collaborative music room. Well, it can be collaborative. You can be in there by yourself if you want, or other people who are also wearing their headset can join you. And Jeff, it was really wise at the outset. We had discussions about how to set up a music room. And I initially thought of using instruments, virtual instruments. And I think it was you, Jeff, who recommended, like, let's make this more approachable for people who might be intimidated by music or who are non-musicians. And so it is, you're in an aquarium and you are playing, you're throwing starfish at sharks, and you're hitting like clam shells, and it's still fun. It's still musical, or strumming seaweed as if it's a bass guitar. So it's musical, it's fun, but there's no boundaries, there's no guidelines. You just get to have fun in there instead of worrying about whether or not you're playing the right chord or hitting the right note. So music room, I think I'm going to forget one. I'm going to save the forest walk, Jeff. What am I missing after the music room?
Yeah, so if we look at the high level viewpoint of it, when you came to us, you said, hey, we did the mind version, like the mind escapes for phase 1. And phase 2 is the body escapes, right? And the rehab. So the way I look at it is there's 3 parts to this. 1 is upper body, which is the calf strap. I'll let you explain what that is in a moment. So reaching and stuff. Part 2 is the music room, which is torso and arms. So there's lots of movements. In fact, you can see in this picture behind me, right? Not only is there the instrument here, which we'll explain in a bit, but there's also the exercises essentially you can do with it. So there are, it's designed for both, or for 3 purposes. 1 is to actually do some physical rehab. 2 is to actually help you play an instrument. And 3 is, again, just this, like, just a crazy world that's just super fun and relaxing, and you forget everything about what's going on in the real world for a few moments while you're in there.
I will just add, like, that is potentially the magic of VR, because it's like the active shoulder range of motion, the exercise is happening like almost in spite of the fun you're having. It is pretty magical to see people. The headset comes over their eyes, and it's entertaining from the outside to watch people move. And I bet most people have no idea how much they're moving. Like you can, we don't have this in our programs here, but there's a boxing program, and you can definitely elevate your heart rate and break a sweat. And of course, you're not thinking about breaking a sweat or getting a cardiovascular workout. You're just trying to punch a guy out. So
you're having fun. So you want to do
the lower extremities, right? Your waist and your legs down.
Jerry has a question. Sorry,
Yeah, I have a question. What all the equipment that's involved in order to get a image onto your virtual reality goggles? Is there a computer involved, or iPhone, or where is the source coming from, and how does it get to your
eyes,
your viewer?
Right. I'll let Jeff answer that one.
Yeah, and Simon can too. So the good thing is here, all you need to do is, it's really, really complicated. You've got to go to Simon and say, can I have a headset? And he says, here you go, here's a headset. That's it. That's all you need. You take it home. If you want to talk and communicate with others, you need an internet. So you just need to connect it to your Wi-Fi. But apart from that, you don't even need that. Everything is self-contained on this headset. You just open it, you click you make it start, and then you play the experience. Now, obviously, it's never quite as simple as that, because there are some nuances. The first time you ever use it, it's something new, right? First time you use a calculator or a phone, it was a little crazy, but it's something that you can absolutely pick up in just a few moments and give you a little cheat sheet guide. But it's just, if you can start your phone, within a few minutes, you'll be able to figure this one out too.
So, Jerry, think of this as a computer that's built in. There are displays inside the headset, and it monitors your movement, because there are cameras here that can detect motion, roll, XYZ, and pitch and yaw, and you're elevated. So that's the difference between a 360, where you have to sit in one place and you see 360 around you, and virtual reality. Virtual reality gives you all 6 degrees of freedom, whereas 360, it's only 3, So roll, rotation, and pitch, I think. And then for 6 degrees, it's X, Y, and Z. So.
And that helps answer Janet's question as well, Paul. So sure. Janet, when you tried that years ago with the Google Cardboard, using a cell phone, which is still probably 5 to 10 years old now. So you imagine how powerful that computer power was in that little phone. And your only ability was to essentially look up, down, left, and right.
Right.
But if you move to the side, it doesn't adjust. And that for your brain is weird, because if you move forward and down, I'm looking under the table, I should look under the table. And in those old devices, you couldn't do that.
Right.
In these, you can, for the most part. Not all of them, actually, some of the 360s, you still do that, but you'll get used to that part. But for the proper immersive experiences, wherever you look, if you bend down, your world adjusts accordingly. It is essentially a complete virtual world.
Cool. So any other questions?
So you have to use a camera to get the original image, like Simon went hiking.
Right.
So he has to have a camera, right, to take the original.
Right, a 360 camera at that point. And from there, you can program it to fit inside the Quest headsets. And so that's what Simon is doing. That's what Jeff is doing also.
It is important to clarify that, like, if you're taking a 360, I'm the last guy that should be talking about this, but seeing as I've already started, when you take a 360 video, that's an enormous amount of data. And so it is a passive viewing experience, very entertaining, very immersive. Whereas if you want to be interacting with your environment, that's where Jeff's people will be, creating the environment. Right. You have more control over what's happening, and you can sort of minimize how much data and processing is required. Did I characterize that well, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I think another way of looking at it is when you take a normal video, you have this much screen, right, that you're looking at the end of the day. In a 360 capture, you are inside of that video, right? So you can't change it, but you are in it. So everywhere I look, once it's recorded, it's as if you're really there, and it's as if you were the person taking that video. You can't adjust it, you can't change it, but you are fully inside that video. When it comes to the three-dimensional scenes, like this stuff behind us, that's actually created in the computer right from the beginning. And that allows us to, for example, pick up things and interact with them in completely unique ways. So that when you go into these kind of experiences, like the music room, you'll never have the same experience twice, essentially, because you'll be able to do different things and interact in different ways.
So it's like going to another world, basically. So, yeah, and interactive at that point. And so Jeff is able to program this computer as a world. And so it takes the 360 images and video, but then it's adding interactivity to it because you can change things inside it. And so I think now would be a good time to maybe do a demonstration. And we'll go.
Can I race through a couple more things?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just as an intro, I guess we had two other experiences on there. One is a super simple one that Jeff, I think you guys cranked it out pretty fast at cash grab, where you're sitting in front of a barrel or standing in front of a barrel, and there's money falling from the sky of different denominations, and you're grabbing it, placing it in the barrel, and as the difficulty level increases, it's coming more rapidly, and you're just trying to grab as much money as you want. I initially thought, that's kind of cool. I wasn't really invested in it at all, but it was easy for Jeff to create. It is a great active range of motion exercise for shoulders. And sure enough, that's one of the crowd pleasers. I mean, people, it's such a simple experience. People are in it immediately. Some of the other stuff is more complex.
There's two controllers you have.
Yeah. And so, for that particular one, you have to be, there's lots of buttons built into these. Of course, I've got my background. Well, there we go. For that cash grab one, you're pressing a button to grab the money and then releasing the button to let go of the money. And that is one of the hardest things, I'm going to say, as somebody who has been instructing people how to use VR, is that once the headset is on and you can't see your hands, there's a whole lot of buttons going on in there. And once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple. But initially, it's a bit bewildering to have so many buttons. So, but for the cash grab game, it's just one of the buttons. So, to press to grab and then release the button to let go of the money. And people get into that one almost immediately. And then probably the most lofty thing we've done, I'll try and keep this brief, Paul, but it is our physical therapy oriented suite of experiences. They're more like balance oriented. And so it's almost impossible to describe. I had no idea that Jeff and his team were going to create something so vivid, but you're kind of out in this swampy forest, I guess, with mountains and dinosaurs and butterflies flying around. And then there are balance-oriented tasks. Like there's one where you are kind of stepping onto these stepping stones that are over top of water, and if you make a misstep, you're going to fall in the water. And there's
virtually.
One where you have virtually. No, I'll throw a bucket of water at you. And there's another one where you're ducking underneath a log, and there's a balance beam one that's great. And then another one that I didn't know what to expect from it, but I think it's probably my favorite, is you're walking through this kind of like small little maze-like space, and you have carrying a basket, and you're picking fruit off of trees and putting it in the basket. And there's all these little, as Jeff calls them, there's Easter eggs planted throughout all the experiences. There are always these little extra things to discover, like different sounds or sights that are planted all over the place. There's also there's like glitches here and there that have proven to be very entertaining, and so we just leave them in there. And if you guys find them, great. If you don't find them, oh well. And so I guess in brief, those were the two other experiences. And now, Paul, if you want to do a demo, I'll stop talking.
Okay. No, you have to stop talking, but yeah, I'll share my screen here. And actually, it's going to take me a little time here to get this going, so please bear with me. So I'm going to share.
It is so ironic that I get, as a willful Luddite, in a manner of speaking, I don't want to say I'm heading something up, but I'm kind of heading up this VR program at the Swedish MS Center. And once it's time to move a mouse or push a button, I'm already starting to back away. And gosh, if I can figure it out, if I can put a headset on and figure it out, just about anybody can. And a little side note while Paul's getting ready, I see a few glasses in the crowd, myself included. You can wear glasses with a headset on. Oh, I need more clever asides, don't I, Paul?
No, you're fine. Okay, so hopefully you should see.
This like he's sharing his screen, but the screen is the headset.
Right.
And I can promise you, no matter what YouTube video you're watching or watching what Paul's doing right now, I don't sell headsets. I'm not trying to promote them necessarily, but nothing can really rival actually having a headset on and just being able to look around it takes you aback. I forgot to mention my glass of water. It's one of the balance tests that we do in the MS world. Is I might do it with one of you guys, and then you'll know all my trade secrets. But walking while carrying a glass of water, there's more to it than that. But it's one of the it's a distractor task. It's one of the divided attention tasks that we do for checking people's balance. And there's behind Jeff, you can see the glass of water shaking there. That was interesting to program. I got to say, these guys, not only do they have to know their programming, but they have to know their physics. Like we had issues where, like, if you walked too fast, you would just leave the glass of water behind. Or there was a few issues, but Jeff is also humble. Aren't you like an astrophysicist? Aren't you, Jeff? So I mean, this guy knows how to figure out the physics of carrying a glass of water and punching a dinosaur. We don't punch dinosaurs.
I'm showing you the money grab app that's here. Hopefully you see it.
Are you actually grabbing the money right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an awesome demo, Paul. Right on.
That is so cool.
You guys see it? Okay, cool.
I want to know if Jeff has figured out how to get that money into your bank account.
Simon's the rich one. He covers it. If you can get to level 10, you win $1,000.
So I'm actually sitting in my chair right now.
I'm super impressed, actually, Paul, at how well you're able to share the screen. That's awesome.
Well, that's it. I do video stuff now, so all right. So it's 40 seconds. Look, I finish this out.
And it's actually really nice. The game, the time for the game is really brief. You just get in and get out. I got to say that people who wear headsets for too long, when they pop the headset off, they have no idea where they are. As far as like which direction they're facing, it's so disorienting in a good way. But also, if you're prone to headaches, if you make the mistake of wearing it for too long, it can be a mistake. And then I'm going to keep going while we're watching. One thing I learned the hard way from Jeff is I experienced sensory conflict. you know people who get motion sick when they read while they're driving. The notion with that is it's sensory conflict. You see the book, so your eyes are not perceiving all the movement that's happening. Meanwhile, your vestibular system is picking up all the turns and acceleration and deceleration. And for whatever reason, that sensory conflict can make you nauseated and make you quite sick. In VR, it can happen in the reverse, where you see movement, but you're not perceiving it from a vestibular or proprioceptive standpoint. And I did Jeff's wheelchair simulator and got sick. And so hence, Jeff has created workarounds for that. It's like when you're in the art gallery, you don't walk in the art gallery, you teleport, which is a very common thing in the VR world, I'm guessing, Jeff, where you point your controller where you want to go, and you pull the trigger and you teleport there, and you thereby bypass that sensory conflict issue that tends to make people sick.
Okay, so I started the music room, and I'll let Jeff talk about this.
And I can join you in there if needs as well. What you guys can see is this is loading. We just have a little tutorial on what to look out for and how to do it. But there's, as Simon said, we start simple and then we build and we add to it. There is something awesome about this which we'll come back to in a moment. So remind me what happens if you have no fins. And we'll plot that in the brain and then we'll figure it out. But look at what you can see there are his fins. Simon, you jumping in there as well?
I'm going to see if I can.
Okay, so I will...
Our slow connection in Swedish here.
I'm going to jump in and try and talk at the same time. Obviously, you can't see what I see, but you will be able to see Paul.
This is kind of pathetic, isn't it? The three of us are just having fun, and you guys are all watching us.
Can you hear it, though? That's the other question. So I'm actually stroking these vines.
I'll just guide you through it. It might be a little bit more efficient here. So there are about 5 zones. I say about because there's some extra ones. Each of those zones you can teleport to, or you can move to, or you can swim to, right? So what we can't actually hear, so Simon's going to make some noises for us as you hit those bass reeds, it's going like that. But tonight, so I'll let him do the noises. And so now what you're doing, of course, is you're moving your arms in that side-to-side motion approach, which gives you that feeling of, are you moving, but you're actually now playing an instrument. Do you want to try one of the other zones?
Yep, let's do it. Let's go to
it. And so each of these zones is not only a different instrument of increasing complexity, but it also is trying to get you to move in different, unique ways as well.
So let's see.
It's interesting. I can see Paul moving, and I can see the screen that he sees. So I can see Paul moving with his hands and see what happens on his screen. Yeah. That's really cool.
Be nice if the audio could pick up, eh?
Well, I got the headset turned up all the way, but so if I hit these, I call them barracudas, not barracudas, but if I hit them.
Yeah. And these angles are essentially our version of a xylophone. I don't know if you guys ever tried playing a xylophone or glockenspiel, but the notes are really tight and it makes it really hard if you have any impairments to play. So what we've done here is space them out and made them bigger with a gap in between. If you hit them from the top, you get one note going around a scale, and if you hit them from underneath going upwards, again, it's a different movement and you get a different note. So you can actually play multiple tunes because you've essentially got a few octaves to play with. And so, yeah, there are like some really fun little things that you can do, because not only can you just hit them and they animate on their own, but you can actually, as Paul's doing here, you can stick your head right inside their mouth. And they look scary. They're actually friendly fish. Now you can play this seated. It is better standing, but you don't have to be standing. I will try to make it work any which way. But so the key here is up and down movements, as well as you could do some side to side, but it's turning your torso and simple up and down movements, right? That's the key. All right, Paul, do you want to try the marimbas?
Try the which one?
Marimbas or kalimbas? I always get this muddled up. Marimbas or kalimbas.
Okay.
On the back side of the statue.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can, there's these little jellyfish, which are quick guidance things as well, that you can teleport to these locations. So come to there last, Paul. Go to the little clamfish one, clamshell one.
Okay, so let's see.
And there's little sound effects that we would be hearing if we were there.
As a like a little side note, one cool feature these headsets have is you can it's called pass-through mode, where if I can just leave the headset on, but I can look through the cameras at what's happening, so I can I don't have to take the headset off. I can just see what's going on out in the world.
Yeah.
I'm watching the screen right now with my headset on.
There you go. Yeah, Paul's actually showing you an advanced technique now. He's in swim mode. So what he's doing is just simply pressing that same grab button, which is like in the real world, when you grab something, that you do that hand motion like this. As you do that, there's a button right here that you're pressing, and that puts you in swim mode. And now you can physically swim in the air, but you're on the That makes sense. It's kind of crazy. So you're able to move around. And it takes a little bit of skill. It's not like completely intuitive. But once you pick it up, it's such a fun, freeing experience. We go in there all, my whole team loves just jumping in and swimming around. But you have to, like, Paul's still getting used to this.
Yeah.
But actually, you'll figure it out sooner or later that you swim just like a river, like you pull like you're doing breaststroke, or like you're treading water, right? You've got to do those similar movements, and it's going to move you as if you're completely free.
Wow.
I also have to be cognizant because I don't want to hit my monitor or my desk or anything. So
yeah, that is one thing. When you do it, you want about 3 to 4 feet around you in all directions.
Right.
Because if you end up moving around without even thinking you are, which is kind of fun. There is a safety barrier that you'll see if you set that up, and it's when you first turn the headset on, you're instructed to just show the headset to your surroundings. So it essentially builds a 3D map of it, so to make you avoid hitting stuff. But you know, as Paul said, you still get a little excited and you'll swim and you'll be pushing stuff around a bit. But if you can clear a few feet around you in any direction, you'll be fine.
Okay, so I'm trying to go over here to the cords, the vines, I guess. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right, there we go.
That is so cool.
And so, Paul, you can also obviously just go and press the, go back to the steering wheel area.
Okay.
Steering, that's cool. And from there, you can actually select those jellyfish to get into that mode even faster.
Okay. So hold both buttons to move both arms forward. Okay.
What's actually funny is I did this with Paul yesterday, and I actually met my exercise goal. So if you wear an Apple Watch, or even in the headset itself, it actually does a little bit, not much, but a little bit of data tracking. And it'll tell you essentially how many calories you essentially burn doing these things. So while you're playing these instruments, you're actually burning a few calories too. So if you press your right joystick, pull earlier, yeah.
I'm sorry, Jeff. What's that, Jeff?
No, you're good. You look like you got it.
Oh.
I was going to say you can press your joystick.
Okay. So, first in joysticks.
The right one?
I think it's not. I have to do backwards.
You might be holding the other button down at the same time. Just try.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
So,
all right. So, for example, go to the butterfly extension. I think it is. Right?
I'm sorry, the butterfly extension?
Yeah, put your hand in there for just a few seconds. You'll see it go red, and then hold it there for 2 seconds. There you go. You see that timer?
Yep.
There we go.
All right. So
So each of these is making a noise. Now, to Simon's point too, it's kind of good for your brain as well. Note the notes on the anglerfish were C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, etc. These are not in that same order. For some reason, the marimbas are actually in this funky order, which apparently makes it easier to play that particular instrument. So this is our variant of that. But one of the team here, when he built it, he actually figured out a couple of tunes and recorded it. It's kind of amazing when you get used to playing this, how efficient you can become. So again, not only is this a made-up instrument, as it were, well, a specifically purposed instrument, even the sounds themselves are actually unique. They don't fully exist. All right, Paul, do you want to try I'm going to go over to the other one.
Yeah, go back home and then...
Oh, yeah, you can do it. Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll go over to the drum kit one, which is my favorite.
So which one's the drum kit? Is that the arms raised up and down?
I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to see if you figure it out.
Okay, that's this one. So that's not drum. Oh, this is pretty drum.
And you can obviously just scoot down it the other way as well if you want. How's your internet, Simon? You able to jump in?
Gosh, I'm being asked by Meta to enter a code into. I have to.
Yeah,
I'm having like Meta issues.
Oh no, okay.
I'm hoping I can do this quickly.
That's one of the cool things about this is that you get more than one person in the world or room. So.
Was that cool?
It's really cool because you have more than one person in the room or in the world. I think that's a different one. Okay, cool.
So you were talking about the audio. Can we? Am I the only one that's not hearing any audio with this, or is it because it's turned off because of the dialogue?
Well, there's audio in the headset. Unfortunately, it's really close to my ears, so you may not be able to hear it. So.
Okay. Nope, that makes sense. I was just trying to figure out if I was doing something wrong on my end. So is the audio giving directions at the same time also, like telling you what to do?
No.
Or you feedback? Okay, it's just the background noise of the visuals.
Exactly. So this is a drum kit. So as I hit the different shells, they make different drum noises.
Yep.
So we kind of built this in a way that is a bit like an iPhone, if that's a little unfair to say, but you can't go wrong, right? You can only go right in different degrees of being right. So this is supposed to be deliberately exploratory, that you can just go to any of these zones and try different things. Now, I'll tell you what he's doing now. Each of those starfish are different sizes. There's actually a drum kit. So each of those will play a different drum kit noise.
Okay.
Can you show us your hand? I don't know if you can see the little rod that's in his hand right now? So
yeah.
That's his stick, his drumstick, that he can actually hit and interact with them. Now, note, Paul's also figured out that when you're kind of done with playing the drums, you can actually move the starfish around, deliberately pick them up, and there are lots of Easter eggs on what happens with those starfish. So what you need to do is hold it, and like a real ball, and then release it, and as you throw it, those starfish will interact with things around you, particularly the sharks. The rest of the Easter eggs, I'll let you explore them. But if you hit a shark, you'll have a background beat that changes around you as well. And I don't know how everyone's doing on time. I realize we are at the top of the hour, just to let everyone know. But if everyone's got a couple of minutes, we can keep going.
So the visuals of the people that are actually doing the exercises, are those showing the movements that you should be trying while you're playing that that virtual reality game or event or whatever?
It's again, none of it is compulsory. They're just kind of giving you ideas to. These are kind of the movements that you're going to be practicing. Now, in theory, Simon could join you in here remotely. So you could be at home and he'd say, I want you to do this movement here for me, please. And so he'd recommend you do it. And if you go, I don't know what you mean, Simon, he'd say, look at this picture.
Okay.
I would say that all of these, this is an advanced prototype, right? This is not FDA approved or anything. This is just an exploratory area to say, can VR help you in these situations where we think there's no other way of really doing it? If somebody could send you guys home with rubber bands and say, hey, flex this rubber band 7 times a day, you'd go, yeah, that's fun. Or you could say, stick a headset on, go play this musical instrument. And so that's the kind of the concept, is this taking stuff that's boring, monotonous, and dull, and making it fun.
All right, so I'm going to stop the share. Cool. So, yeah, good. So, Simon, the headsets are available to be checked out, right? Just have to be a patient of the MS group there at Swedish, and you can keep them for
I wouldn't rush in. Yeah, I wouldn't rush. Jeff, I'm for some reason my device has lost its login credentials somehow, so I bet I have to try and get them back up to speed. But yes, generally speaking, they will be available. If somebody wanted to borrow one, it would be good to come here on a Wednesday and to expect to spend some time figuring out how to use it. I will admit, and initially it's kind of frustrating for many folks. And it's hard from the outside to tell a person what to do. Once you get it, it's a ton of fun and it's easy to navigate. But those early stages can be really frustrating, trying to figure out what to do.
Then Simon, once we do come in for a Wednesday appointment and learn how to use it, then you can check it out for what, like a week or weekend, or what's the norm?
I don't really have a norm, but like I'd say a week or two is totally appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And these come with a whole series of, like, I'm imagining some type of library. Are the different experiences internally put into these headsets, or do you have to like log into some type?
Everything is in there and plenty more. Like that's part of the problem actually, is that the Meta has its own gigantic universe that you will readily be made aware of. And so I would say part of the initial learning pains or growing pains are just figuring out how to navigate and access our stuff, or to reach beyond and look at Meta stuff. Yeah, those are just some of the early challenges.
Right. So for those of us that are auditorily memory challenged, do you have some kind of like a checklist or a manual or something that goes with it on how? So like you might tell us and have us walk away thinking, "Yep, got it," but then 2 days later, damn, how do I act stuff? So,
I would go so far as to say potentially.
Okay.
But yeah. I think the easiest thing to do is to
we did create one, so let's take that back out and stick it in with the headset.
I'm just like, was that Jeff?
So we did create one, so we'll just we'll get Simon to reprint those out and stick them, laminate them, and we'll stick them in each of the headsets. The funny thing is, if you know what you're doing, it's like 3 steps.
Exactly.
If you can fall down rabbit holes, right? Kind of like using your phone again. The basics of it are there, but then you start, what if I do this? Let's try that. And all of a sudden you're down a rabbit hole and you're playing Beat Saber by accident.
Yeah, so there will definitely be some instructions that will be included in the headset when you check it out. Because accessing that program is a little different from accessing the normal programs that you get with the Quest. And so you have to look at a particular spot that people may not know. So, yeah.
I have a question. We have some participants who live further away from Seattle. Lucinda is one of the closest with North Bend. But we have somebody from Idaho and Olympia. She just had to leave. How would it be possible to mail these headsets? Or is that too dangerous, difficult, expensive?
I'm just going to arbitrarily say probably not in the early stages. Just, of course, anything's possible, but I honestly just don't see myself. I just tried to mail somebody a piece of hardware for their wheelchair, and Swedish told me, you're going to have to go to the post office and get reimbursed. So they wouldn't just let me hand it over to some guy in the postal department. So I can see myself not being super helpful in that regard, if I can put it so harshly.
I have a question. Is there any rentals for this type of equipment in other towns? Can you go to rent them someplace, like a video store? Or?
You can, but there's a couple of problems. That one, they're actually more expensive to rent than they are to buy, which is pretty interesting. You'll typically pay $30 to $50 a day to rent them.
Wow.
Now they only cost $300 to buy, right? So they give you an idea. The other part is just putting the software on there, because this is built for Simon. But there is the possibility that if you end up buying one and you say, "Hey Simon, can I have the software?" You get him on a good day after he's just finished a 100-mile marathon.
I'm experiencing one of the little unexpected glitches. For some reason, Meta wanted me to re-verify my headset, and because I have so many accounts and passwords now. This would be too long of a story, but basically the way Facebook and Meta operate, the easiest way for us to do this program was for me to have my family each have a headset. So I have 3 non-existent children who have Facebook accounts and Meta accounts, and so I promise you I will struggle a little bit every time I try to get you set up for a headset, and patience is appreciated.
Okay. I have to say that every time, I haven't been a regular, because of where I live, I haven't been a regular person in the MS Center for OTPT, although I've seen both you and Kim several times. But you go home with a laundry list of exercises and motivation to do them every single day, but it's so damn boring. This would really make it fun.
That's part of the dream. Yeah, I don't know if we're there yet, but that's part of the dream. And maybe you guys can be helpful in the early stages of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. As a good example, I wasn't expecting the simple cash grab game to be all that interesting to people, and people lock onto it really fast. They get competitive with themselves. Last week, I literally had to politely ask a guy to leave. It's like, okay, our session's been over for a while and it's time to go. So I find that very promising.
Cool.
I think that's often the way, Simon. Some of these experiences are quite involved. The music room, there's a lot of stuff to do and interact with, and if you're not used to it, that's kind of wild, right? So starting on something like a cash grab is really good.
The music is really cool, but for me, my favorite part is still just swimming inside there. Yeah, that's really cool. I had something else I was going to say. That's popped out of my head. But I'm going to have to get these. I've been using predominantly one headset, and so the other 3 I'm learning from today's session. I better make sure that I'm not having to re-enter codes or anything for all of those. So I'll get those going.
Yeah, because they're updates to the Quest. And Meta going through all this stuff. There's an update at least quarterly, or not sooner. And so, and when Jeff was was talking about the program. So you can rent a Quest, but then you have to have the program. And that's up to Jeff or Simon. And so maybe I can volunteer Jeff to be a person that you guys can go to if you have issues with your application on the Quest.
Maybe like a high school student who is looking for volunteer hours.
There you go.
Would be a lot faster at this stuff than us old guys.
Just to get you aware, and it's actually probably interesting for everybody else too, because it's something you brought up. So we're doing a project with Bellevue College as part of our Give Back. And what that means is we oversee about 12 students in 3 groups doing projects that are tech for good, so to make the world a better place. And one of the teams decided to do a project that will try and help their friend, actually a family member. And this family member has this very rare condition that they only have a focal point, a very small focal point of their vision, which is off to the side, right? So everyday tasks are extremely hard for them. And because their focal point is to the side, so it's eye strain and head strain. They're developing an experience that just try and make it deliberately the focal point, things of focus are off, right? So measuring what it is. So they stuck him in a headset, and it turns out it improves his vision. Which is absolutely. So this, let me bring it up, is this, and he's a Swedish, by the way. So it'd be interesting to get you working with whoever that is that's there, that's also kind of involved in this a little bit. But why I bring that up is this whole area is still so new. There is a lot of barriers that we've got to overcome just on general usability, but they're just, it's a learn. But the potential upside of these things is still wildly unknown, right? So any feedback, that good or bad, that you guys come up with while using these experiences, please let us know, because we love it all, good and bad. That's the only way we're going to improve and learn from you.
I had a question for Paul and for Ursula. Usually during our meeting, we have set aside a time towards the end of the program to have people talk about what they would like to have for the future meeting. And so I know that we're inviting Vicki Roulard to come and share her thoughts on possible future meeting about wheelchair support. So did you want to allow, it's 2:13. Usually we kind of wrap up our programs and then allow a little bit of time for talk about future meetings. Do we want to do that?
Let's first check whether people really have to leave at 2:15 or whether we can go a bit over. Because I don't know whether Jeff and Simon and Paul would like to show some more and whether people have more questions.
Have a question and answer time.
I'd like to throw in that this has really been exciting, and I'm really actually surprised that there hasn't been more of this type of thing happening for not just people with MS, but stroke and all that. This is really exciting stuff and a great way to get people motivated to do their much needed exercises. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, physical rehabilitation and the technologies have been together for a while, but unfortunately, because it's so expensive back in the day to have a computer to generate virtual reality, the medical community didn't really adopt it. Now, there are some colleges like MIT Media Labs and even at UW and the HIT Lab where they're doing that in the sense they're combining technology and they're combining, especially able people together. And so you do find them, but they're kind of rare at this point. I know I've introduced both Jeff and Simon to some conferences that are put on by the virtuality community that talk about medicine. And so maybe I can have Jeff or Simon finish that thought for me. So
yeah, let's go to Jeff first because he said he needs to go at 2:15.
Okay.
thank you for being here, Jeff. It was really amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Reach out anytime, everyone. And to answer that question very briefly, I would say, adding on to what we said earlier, right, that there is so much tech for good that can come out of technology. Unfortunately, it's probably the least funded area.
Right.
You want to build a game, millions and millions of dollars. If you want to actually improve people's lives, good luck finding anything, right? That's part of the beautiful collaboration between Simon and Swedish and ourselves. It's like we've got a little bit to start this ball rolling, but it's eye-opening the things that we're finding, and it's a really exciting area to be in. So I love doing what we do.
Cool.
Thank you.
That being said, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Bye-bye.
That's great. That's great.
Excellent.
Ah,
Is Simon still here?
yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
I have to go see somebody in the gym pretty soon.
Okay.
But yeah, if anybody has questions, now's a good time.
Well, thanks, Simon, for getting this stuff out. I will certainly be in touch.
We have to get a GoPro on your head when you're on your all-terrain vehicle.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. And I also thought that your collaboration with Outdoor for All, they need to get one of these for their fleet of adaptive bikes, because it really answers like a million problems for people with disabilities.
It sounds exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting me join you guys. I appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see some of you soon. We are back up and running, by the way, with regular MS adventures. So watch the newsletter for stuff that's coming up. Jerry's got his hand up.
Any news on when the open gym might open back up again?
Funny you should ask. Yeah. Yes, there is news. All right, well, catch you later. No, I don't want to say for sure, but yeah, it's within weeks for sure. And initially, it'll just be Wednesdays, and now we will. Part of the issue we've been facing is Swedish is so risk averse that they really want somebody present. And to have somebody present means it's got to be somebody who can who can touch people, for lack of a better phrase. They have to be able to assist people on and off equipment. And as soon as a staff person is touching people, there's all different kinds of professional designation and liability issues. But we found somebody, and so yeah, within weeks on Wednesdays. We'll be cracking the door open a little bit. We're down a bit of equipment. Kim and I had lofty ambitions during COVID to get rid of stuff that people weren't using and bring in some new stuff. And we've been modestly successful at getting rid of stuff, but the replacing it part hasn't quite happened yet. So we're down some equipment, but we're working on getting some new stuff in here.
Yeah, I know you used to have student volunteers that would come in and help on certain days.
Yeah.
Is that what they're...
Well, it's pretty much got to be a staff person if we're going to do it on the up and up. And of course, a well-intentioned student is going to be happy to, assist somebody, but technically speaking, they're not supposed to be doing that. And in the heat of the moment, some people do need physical assistance. So we're trying to engineer it so that it is somebody who's a paid staff member who's permitted to, provide physical assistance.
Sounds good.
Complicated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, pleasure to see you guys all, and have a good weekend.
Yes, bye, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
That was great.
Wow. Yeah. So maybe now we have a few minutes for you, Vicky, to